Yo, what is up, everyone? Back here with another video. Today we're going to be going over pretty much the new format. Just kind of giving you guys my first impressions on the format, what I think about it. Um, it's very interesting, right? Because this format is the first format that's going to be incorporating a double restricted in the recent like Sword and Shield games. We've obviously had the format both in 2016, 2019. 2019, I played the format like crazy, so I feel pretty uh, able to give my opinion on the format. So I've been playing a bunch of the format on Showdown. I wanted to wait to do this video so I could give you guys an accurate feel of how I thought without it being biased. So kind of getting an idea from like the first few days of kind of playing the format and seeing how I liked it, kind of its strengths, its weaknesses. So the first thing that I'd like to I guess bring to light. So basically this format is going to play very differently from Series 11. In Series 11, because it's single restricted, right? It was more centered around the it was more centered around like building around that one restricted strengths and weaknesses. With two restricted, you kind of compensate for certain weaknesses, right? So it kind of makes you have to find like not only the best combination between the restricteds, but the best supporting cast for those two restricteds, right? And some restricted synergize pretty naturally. A couple examples being Zacian with pretty much anything because Zacian is just such a consistent non-max option. Like, because it doesn't max, right? So it's like a really good slot. It doesn't cost you max. You get a high damage output. Combined with like other partners that either can max or like don't really max, and then you can kind of center around the support Pokemon. So for an example, one of the teams that I had mentioned in the previous video was the Charizard, what's it called, or Zacian Groudon like Charizard Venusaur team, and pretty much that kind of is exactly what I was discussing. So like you'll see that like they both work as non-max Pokemon pretty well. And then you have two Dynamax abusers that can like heavily capitalize and like work well next to the partners that they're given, right? And that's something that I find is going to be very crucial in this format. And in certain ways, that's a good thing. In other ways, it's kind of a bad thing. So in previous GS Cup formats, it was more so focused around your restricteds being the high power output levels. But I think in this format, because of Dynamax and because of the strong partners that are able to get like strong offensive moves, it kind of makes it so that your partners are just as important as the restricteds themselves. So kind of you have to make sure that your entire team synergizes and like kind of compensates for that, right? Typically in this format, it seems like having two really strong Dynamax options with like a third optional one is pretty strong. So like you'll notice the Sun team, for example, like the Zacian, Groudon, Charizard, Venusaur. Like Incineroar, Grimmsnarl aren't gonna max. Venusaur and Charizard are your main Dynamaxers, with Groudon being a potential max in some instances, right? And if we look at like one of the other common archetypes running around, right, the Swordfish team, right? I call it Swordfish, but basically it's what's it called? Zacian. Then we have Kyogre, right? And then we have pretty much like Regieleki, Tornadus, and like that kind of filler. So pretty much what you'll notice with this team, right, is like it's kind of filling out that kind of same thing. Like you'll even see like double weather Zacian, right? Like pretty much what it's aiming for is just kind of having that same form of consistency that like the other teams had. So basically like having the two Dynamax options, two support options, and then one like potential additional maxer, right? So like Tornadus, Venusaur, your main maxers. Zacian, obviously can't max. Kyogre is the option of maxing, but usually won't. These two aren't going to max, right? So you kind of see the trend among these teams and kind of how they're utilized. So that's just like kind of a general idea of like how these teams are going to be functioned. So one thing to note, your restricteds are important, and there are some exceptions obviously to this rule. The combinations are very important, but make sure that the partner Pokemon also carry their weight in terms of being able to deal a lot of damage, capitalizing off of the weather stuff or like whatever abilities the restricteds have, or like working with them, right? That's the one thing to notice. A couple things that I wanted to point out too. I think the high usage restricteds are going to be Zacian, obviously. I'm pretty sure Zacian is going to be on like almost every single like high level team besides like a few. There are obviously some exceptions to this. I don't think it's going to be every team, but it will be majority. Zacian's just really strong. We know this from like Series 10. We know this from Series 11 and Series like 8. Like it's just a strong Pokemon, right? Like it's literally so busted for GS Cup. Like this stat spread combined with its bulk, its ability is just like so strong, and its move is really strong. Like it just has such a great kit. Now, a couple of other restricteds that I think are going to be big that I kind of want to talk about. We will be doing a tier list as well. That's going to be your second upload for the day. They'll probably be coming out like 3 hours after this vid, so make sure to kind of check out the YouTube, and then you'll see a bit more. But yeah, pretty much the Groudon, Kyogre, Zacian are like going to be the strongest in my opinion. I think a couple of other notable options that are kind of popping up now. Calyrex Ice and Calyrex Shadow work really well as like kind of support restricteds now, because you can fit two. They used to be a little more awkward because you used to have to centralize your strategy around them, but now because you have like flexibility with like all these extra restricteds, it makes both of them a lot more powerful because they can kind of be paired with like these other good restricteds. Also, too, thing worth noting is that Yveltal is actually pretty good as well. As an Yveltal fan myself, I'm pretty happy about that. Yveltal is really strong because it matches up well into the Calyrexes, it matches up well into Kyogre, and it matches up decently in the Groudon. Into Zacian, obviously it struggles a little bit, but now you have a partner to compensate for that. So you aren't necessarily held back by picking Yveltal as your restricted because you have something else to compensate for it. And Yveltal's bulk and like use overall is just like really strong. So it's a super cool Pokemon. I'm excited to get to use it in a format where I feel like it's not like, so in previous formats, like it's good, and it's useful. It's just that it feels like you have to rely on your other partners a lot more. In this one, I feel like Yveltal has the opportunity to shine, because particularly the archetype I like using, Evil Dawn, right, with like Groudon, Yveltal, like it focuses on single restricted modes majority of the time, anyways. So like they both specialize in different things, so you feel like they're both useful in their own regard, right? And that's actually something I want to know too. In two restricted formats, people usually have this impression that you always need to bring both your restricteds. It's not the case. Some well-constructed teams will literally just have like one restricted brought, right? Like, I'm not saying that all teams necessarily do that, but like a lot of teams can do that, right? Um, I think that they have a lot of potential in that regard, and I definitely think that's something you guys shouldn't take for granted or like kind of sleep on. Single restricted modes, or like a team that can function with single restricted modes, is actually really nice. So something definitely worth considering there. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the actual, like kind of restricteds, I think are good. Like these will probably be it. I'll do a tier list as well. Like I said, that's probably gonna be up a bit later. Or like a rental code video. I haven't decided yet. One of the two is gonna be up. A couple good partners that I think are really good on a lot of teams. Venusaur is going to be very good. Obviously, it kind of has a sun to complement it. Charizard, I think, is incredibly strong, especially with all the Zacian oversaturation. I think that Regieleki is still going to be really strong because of its ability to go for Electro Webs and kind of like mess with the opponent's ability thing. Now, a couple of things. I think that Colossal got worse. Colossal's still usable. I just think it's worse. I think Urshifu got worse, and I think Rillaboom got worse. I expect Rillaboom's usage to go down a lot. I expect Urshifu's usage to go down a bunch, and I expect Colossal like to not even be that relevant. I mean, it wasn't really relevant in Series 11, but I especially don't think it's going to be very relevant now. Couple of other things as well. Some Pokemon that I think are just going to be completely ignored, or like pretty much like not relevant. Xerneas is going to be irrelevant in this format, in my opinion. I think that it's just too weakened by Dynamax, and now the fact that there are two restricted, you can pick two restricteds that like match up fine into it, and like Zacian's gonna be on almost every team, right? So that's like a big problem for Xerneas. Kind of makes it really difficult there, and also too like Xerneas isn't a great Dynamax abuser either, so it's not really that phenomenal. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I expect people to try Lunala. I don't think Lunala is gonna be that great. Still, in my opinion, I think Calyrex is kind of gonna overpower it. And I'm trying to think if there's any other Pokemon. Ho-Oh, I don't see being that good. I mean, I guess you have two restricteds now, so like Ho-Oh and Groudon maybe, but like it's still kind of Like it's not the best, you know. It could be okay. I mean, you get the option of like maybe like Groudon, Ho-Oh, like Regieleki, Venusaur. Yeah, I mean, I guess you can make a decent Suncore with it, but I don't see it being that great. And then Kyurem White, I actually think is going to be really good. I definitely keep an eye out for Kyurem White. I think that Pokemon has a lot of potential. And maybe Solgaleo. Another thing of note, too, I've been seeing Zamazenta and Zygarde run around as well. Those are, I mean, they kind of work well together in terms of like coaching plus coil spam, but then you also have to take into account that like if your opponent has a slightly more aggressive restricted, you're gonna struggle a little bit, especially to like if there's some random ice coverage on the team that like Zamazenta can't deal with immediately. It can be really problematic. And Zamazenta itself is like basically a support restricted. It's not really an offensive restricted like Zacian. So it's kind of a bit weirder in that regard. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I mean, oh my god. We have a lot of cool things in this format, and I'm really looking forward to see how it develops. My initial first impressions, I think it's gonna be a really good format. I know a lot of people are hesitant because it's too restricted, but I think it's gonna be a really nice format. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the format progresses. I'm looking forward to playing the format. I mean, it's just it seems like a great format. I mean, I love two restricted formats. But yeah, make sure to let me know your guys' opinions in the comments. The question today, if you guys have made it to the end, is going to be what are your overall first impressions of the format, and like kind of telling me what you guys think. But that's pretty much it, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll what's it called, there should probably be another upload today. If you guys don't see it, I probably just uploaded this a little too late. But there's either a tier list or like a rental code video coming out most likely later today. If not, then it'll be out tomorrow. But once again, guys, thank you so much for all the support. I incredibly appreciate it. If you guys would like to support me beyond here, make sure to check out the Patreon, and make sure to get some coaching if you guys would like to be prepared for when real life events come back. But yeah, thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.